positive or negative comments don't impact me at all like they used to. Again, I will listen for truth. Is there truth in the positive comment? Is there truth in the negative comment? If there's not, I just put it aside. I don't own it. It doesn't become me anymore like it used to. EQ Gangsters. Welcome to this episode where I discuss and address a number of questions that were asked to me by a gentleman named Zane following a Bible study on leadership that I had. He asked me a few questions that I thought were excellent around people-pleasing, addiction, which for those of y'all that have been following the podcast, have known, I'm a recovering people pleaser addict, and it's just been the last 3 to 4 years since growing my emotional intelligence and getting emotionally healthier due to my emotional fitness program and growth that I'm finally a recovering people pleaser addict. And so here are some of the questions that he asked. Do I still care what people think of me as a recovering people pleaser addict? How did people-pleasing dilute my clear-cut goals for the future? And how important is goal setting to you now? And so he, again, I thought there were some great questions that he asked me, and I share hopefully some helpful thoughts and ideas around the concept of people-pleasing and how it impacted my life when I was a people-pleaser addict, and kind of how I'm viewing things and approaching things and thinking about things now as a recovering people pleaser addict. Also want to share, go check out the Llama Lounge podcast, the Llama Lounge podcast. I included the link in the show notes. A chief in the Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, E9 in the Air Force, has and owns and hosts and runs that podcast. And we talk about some really interesting things around emotional intelligence. We talk about the importance of developing an emotional fitness program. We talk about a concept that I'm honing and refining called Go Aped. And I would love for you guys to go check that out. Again, the Llama Lounge podcast. I just did that interview today, so it may not be out yet. It may drop in a little bit, in a few days, maybe a week or so. But if it's not out yet and you check, just know that it will be coming here in the future. For those of you all that have been following our journey of emotional growth, thank you so much for following our journey, but also letting us be a part of your emotional growth journey as well. And we just are so thankful that you either watch our YouTube channel, listen to our podcast. Thank you for rating, reviewing, sharing, and subscribing our content. And a few thoughts to think about. We're on the receiving end of each other's emotional intelligence or lack thereof every single day in every relationship. Unaddressed emotional issues don't get better over time. They actually compound. If you don't deal with your emotional issues, your family and your friends will. Emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally. And also, if you'd like to check out our free EQ 101 course, where I kind of give an overview of emotional intelligence, and also I address the 4 deadly sins of emotions, please check that out at eqgangster.com. Enjoy the episode. Okay, so your question was, now that I'm no longer or much less of a people pleaser addict, do I still care what people think of me? I think that it's almost a no, which for a people pleaser addict is insane to say, because every single decision that I made, whether I was conscious of it or not, prior to my emotional growth journey, was absolutely impacted by what I thought others would think of me. Every decision that I made, well, man, what's Zane going to think of me? Oh, what's Susie going to think of me? What's Bob going to think of me? What's Frank going to think of me? What's Shelly going to think of me? Like, and dude, it's exhausting. I had no idea. I didn't know, because that's all I knew. So do I care now what people think of me? Let me say this. So it's probably not at all. It's probably 98% less. So maybe 2%. And there's even a caveat to the 2%. It also depends, so let me say a little bit, a teeny bit, but it depends on who it is.
Right.
So if it's not a kind of a trusted advisor in my life, someone that has demonstrated wisdom and maturity and some degree of emotional intelligence and maybe even some spiritual maturity, if it's not someone like that in my camp that has demonstrated those characteristics and qualities over 5, 10, 15 years in my life, then I don't care what people think of me anymore. Not that I don't listen for truth still, because I may not know you. Let's say I don't know you, and you're like, Noble, how you treated that guy at the grocery store was very inappropriate when you cussed him out. Now, I'm not going to say, well, dude, I don't know you, and you haven't demonstrated maturity or wisdom in my life, so screw you. You can pound sand. No, I'm going to say, okay, well, let me think about what he's saying here. Did I treat someone improperly in the grocery store? And if it's like, oh man, that one guy, yeah, I went in on him hard. Yeah, but this guy's right. I need to listen to what he's saying there. But here's what's different. I will tell you, here's what's different. I will listen to the content of what someone says and filter it through my truth filter. Is it true? Is it accurate?
Yeah.
Is it wise? But here's what's different. What I don't do is, regardless if it's positive or negative, it no longer impacts my identity and who I am. Before my emotional growth journey, if you said something to me, whether I knew you or not, I would absolutely, it would absolutely impact my identity, who I am.
Yeah.
So if you said, oh man, Noble, you're amazing, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this guy thinks I'm amazing. Oh man, that must mean I'm amazing. Oh man. And I would do cheetah flips. Conversely, if you had said, you're a waste of skin, you're a waste of oxygen, you're a piece of crap, I would be like, oh my gosh, this guy thinks I'm a waste of skin, I'm a waste of oxygen, I'm a piece of crap. Let me go suck on my thumb in the corner of my bedroom because, I'm this loser piece of crap, right? It regardless of what anyone said, it would impact who I was, who I saw myself as. Now, positive or negative comments don't impact me at all like they used to. Again, I will listen for truth. Is there truth in the positive comment? Is there truth in the negative comment? If there's not, I just put it aside. I don't own it. It doesn't become me anymore like it used to.
The reason I'm asking these questions too is I'm actually going to be doing a career change here soon. So I'm trying to really get a good sense of myself just to make sure that I can stack my cards right, get a good foundation, because it's going to be a grind in the beginning. So, but my question to what you were just talking about is, how did people pleasing dilute your clear-cut goals for the future?
Dude, I couldn't have my clear-cut goals.
Yeah.
Dude, this is how bad I was. It was so bad. I adopted the goals, dreams, and desires of the people around me because of how hardcore of a people pleaser I was. And
Yeah.
so, and so literally until 3 or 4 years ago, when I started growing emotionally, and I realized, wait, like the people around me wanted a big giant house, wanted fancy cars, wanted jets, and wanted this lavish lifestyle. And and I 100%, if you had asked me 5 years ago for the previous 15 years what goals I wanted, I would have said, oh man, I want a big giant house, I want fancy cars, I want jets, I want houses all over the world. And then I started growing emotionally, and then I realized, do I really want all that stuff? Like, is that stuff important to me? Like, so people pleasing, addiction, I literally didn't even know what my own goals and dreams were, because I would first ask, well, what do you want? What kind of goals and dreams do you want? Yeah, I like that. Okay, I want your goals and dreams for me. Okay, yeah, that's good. Oh, hey, well, how about you, man? What do you want? Yeah, man, I like that too. Hey, lady, what do you like? Right? So
Yeah.
I wasn't even able to have clear-cut goals and dreams that were truly my own, because I was such a hardcore people pleaser addict. And also, so let's even bring it closer to home. My wife, hey babe, what are your goals and dreams? Yeah. Oh, I definitely have to add, your goals and dreams, because I mean, obviously you're my wife, so I need to have the same goals and dreams that you have, because I'm the provider of my family, and so I need to have the same. Oh, dude, what, like, and not to say that you like with your spouse, not to say that you can't maybe share some of those same goals and dreams, but I would challenge you in your own emotional growth journey to figure out what are your own goals and dreams before asking your spouse or your children or something like that. Like, what do you want for yourself, right? What do you value? And start
Yeah.
with your values. Start with your values and your principles, and then from there, what goals and dreams support my values and principles and beliefs? You know what I mean? And don't, and before talking to family and friends and all that kind of stuff, like, what makes you type of activities or behaviors support your values and beliefs, even more than things, you know what I mean? Because things are temporary. For me, things are temporary. Memories you can keep for a long time. You can keep those, especially because you can document memories through journaling or pictures or video. And
Right.
so anyway, but that's how I would answer that, is figure out what your core values are, what are your principles, what are your beliefs, and then what things goal, not things like material things, but like what goals or accomplishments align with your values and beliefs. The more aligned those are, the more authentic you're going to be and your experience is going to be. The more misaligned or unaligned those are, like in my case,
Yeah.
my values and beliefs were over here, my goals and dreams were over here, because I was a people pleaser addict, and that caused a lot of unknown to me. I didn't even realize the stress and anxiety and conflict and distortion and confusion. I wasn't whole. I wasn't aligned, because I adopted the goals and values and dreams of these people around me. And it was not a good experience for me. But again, I wasn't even aware of it, because I wasn't emotionally aware. I wasn't self-aware, right? I had no emotional intelligence, or very little. And so I didn't even realize that my goals and dreams were not aligned with my values and principles and stuff.
So now that you're kind of, well, you're obviously growing, right? Out of this people pleaser kind of identification, I guess you'd say. But how important is goal setting to you?
So, okay, some of this is personality driven. There are some personalities. So, using the DISC model, the dominant personality, using the personality plus model, the choleric personality, are goal setting gangsters. They, my wife, she's a what's called a choleric melancholy, or in the DISC model, she's dominant conscientious. She's DC. And like, she thinks in goals, right? She thinks in steps, in processes, in systems, and like, that's how she literally thinks in goals. So it's very easy for some personalities to set goals and accomplish goals and achieve goals and et cetera, all goals. Other personalities are not, it does not come as naturally to as some. And so my personality, I'm sanguine choleric, or using the DISC model, I'm an influencer. I'm an ID, influencer with some dominant personality, but primarily I. And my personality, I've learned how to do goals, but again, in my people pleasing addiction, my goal setting journey and process looked very differently than how it does today. So today, I would tell you that I am in a phase of my life where I am not living by goals in the normal society, cultural success way of living by goals or setting goals, that kind of thing. Right now, the phase of life that I'm in right now is I am more growth oriented and growth setting instead of goal setting, meaning that my focus and my emphasis every day is what can I learn and how can I grow versus what goal am I going to set today. And it's a small nuance. And again, it's just, I'm just telling you the phase of life that I'm in. I'm coming out of literally a lifetime of people pleasing addiction, and living by everyone else's goals and everyone else's opinions and everyone else's thoughts, because we were in this very toxic, unhealthy culture, emotional business culture that we were in, a very emotionally unhealthy culture that we were in. And so I'm literally in a phase of life right now where I'm discovering who I even am, because I've been a people pleaser addict my whole life. That's why this whole leadership stuff, literally 2 years ago, I'm 2 years into my emotional growth journey at the time, and I'm reading this book called Above the Line by Urban Meyer, the football coach. Yeah. And I'm reading this book. About halfway through the book, he's like, this is my leadership philosophy. This is how I lead my football teams and stuff. And it just hit me. I'm like, this is his leadership philosophy. I'm like, here I am in the third quarter of my life. Like, I've been a leader for 2 or 3 decades. And I can't even tell you what my own leadership philosophy is, because again, I've been a people pleaser addict. So when I went to West Point, oh man, this is the leadership philosophy that I'm supposed to adopt, because this is what they say is the ninja leader of the planet. So then I would go to Ranger School. Oh, well, man, this is how a leader needs to roll. So this is my new philosophy. Then I go to 82nd Airborne Division. Oh, the 82nd Airborne Division. Okay, this is what a leader is and looks like, and this is how they walk and talk. And then again to the business world. Oh, no, this is what leadership. I'm like, dude, screw all that. Right now that I'm finally growing emotionally, who do I think a leader is? Who do I think a leader is? What are the qualities and traits and characteristics of a leader that I respect, that I look up to? Who are the leaders I look up to and respect? Why do I look up to those leaders and respect those leaders, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So I'm in this phase of life that, maybe many folks are not in. Maybe they have already gone through this journey years ago. I'm just telling you, for me, and maybe it's going to change, right? Maybe after I go through this phase I'm in, maybe I'll bust out my goals again. But, and Kath and I, my wife and I have even talked about this stuff. I'm not even ready to set goals, because I don't even know who I am yet. I'm still figuring out. I just have recently taken off the training wheels on my bicycle, right? I'm just trying to figure out how to ride again. Who am I? Who has God made me to be? So it's, for me, okay, so now here's another thing too, another kind of nuance with goal setting. So for me, now this is more along the goal setting camp than the growth thing that I just got done saying. So for me right now, I am more growth focused instead of goal focused. Not that they're mutually exclusive, but for right now, for me, they are mutually exclusive, just based on the phase of life that I'm in. Right now, I am growth focused and I'm not sweating goals for right now. Again, that may change. Okay, now, so that's that discussion. The next topic is, and again, this is more in the goal camp topic, because I have lived the majority of my life in the goal phase of life where it's all about goals. Growth, yeah, whatever. But if you get the goals, that's all the growth. That's the proof of growth is the goals. Well, what I didn't realize was I was surrounded by people that were so goal focused, they weren't growing. But it was under the code of, well, but look, I've hit this new financial goal. Now I make $4,000 a month. So that means I have grown. Oh, look, now I've made $6,000 a month. That the delta, that $2,000 delta between 4 and 6,000 is proof of my growth. No, that just means you've made more money and you've sold more. But just because you've made more sales does not mean you've grown. Case in point, and I'm going to get back to my other point here in a second. I talked to a guy. In fact, I just did this on a podcast episode. It hasn't been released yet. It'll be released in a week or two, in a week or two. But I talked to the number 2 guy in a $3 billion division of a company. So the company was like 15, 20 billion. His division that he was the number 2 guy in was 3 billion. He had like 3,000 to 5,000 employees that he was in charge of. I was taking this leadership course in his company, in his division of his company. And I pulled him off on the side during a break, 15-minute coffee break. Pulled him off on the side. I said, hey, sir, learning some neat stuff here in this leadership course that your company has put together. I said, let me ask you, how are you growing yourself? He said, oh, Noble, man, I'm too busy, man. I don't have time. He's like, I said, no, like what books you reading? What podcast you listen to? Oh, Noble, man, I don't have time for that. When I get home at the end of the day, man, I just pop open a cold one, turn on the TV, man. I fall asleep on the couch. And I thought to myself, I don't want to learn anything that this guy knows, man. This guy's not growing. You're not growing yourself. Seriously, you're the number 2 guy in this company and you are not growing yourself. I didn't say that to him, but that's what I was thinking. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have anything to learn from him. I'm sure, he obviously there's a lot of stuff that he knows and knew that I didn't know, but I just was like, wow, success, title, income, leadership, rank has nothing to do with the kind of person you are necessarily inside in terms of, for me, the things that I value. For me, I value growth. And clearly that's not something that he values. He values money and titles, which is fine if someone values that, but that's just not what I value. So I don't want to learn that dude's leadership philosophy necessarily, versus I'd rather learn from the janitor who's growing himself than the number 2 guy in a $3 billion company, because he's not growing himself. Yeah. And again, that's just a function of value. So with the goal setting mindset, again, you want to be careful to not assume that just because you're hitting new goals or you're setting goals and hitting them, that means you're growing personally.
Yeah.
That can just mean that you are learning a new skill and you're getting better at a new skill. Okay. Yeah. Next thing is, now, so again, this is more goal-oriented stuff. So for me, when I was in that goal setting phase of my life, where it was all about goals and that's all I could think about and stuff, and affirmations and goals on the wall and vision boards and all that kind of stuff, which I'm not knocking all that stuff. But there's definitely a difference from that stuff and growth. Again, what resonated more with me than even the goals was the action and activity to accomplish them. I can't necessarily control the outcome, but I can influence the outcome by the amount of activity that I take. I can set a goal to be, 10% body fat and weigh, 200 pounds, I can set that goal. What determines that goal more than anything else is my activity level. So am I going to go to the gym once a week, twice a week? How long do I want that goal to take, right? There's a lot of nuances I'm talking about in here. And then, not to mention, obviously, so the less I go to the gym or the less I work out, the longer it is before I accomplish that goal of 10% body fat and 200 pounds. Also, what about my eating? What about my sleep? What about my water intake? What type of workout am I doing? All kinds of things, action steps that all go into that particular goal accomplishment. Now, here's another thing too. My point, and let me summarize that point there. That point is you can influence the goal and the timing of the goal by the amount and type of action that you take to accomplish them, which is all very important in determining this stuff. Here's my caution. My caution is, again, for 2 decades, I was surrounded by people who were obsessed with the goal and the activity to accomplish them. They had no personal or professional boundaries. Many of them did not. Their lives revolved around their goals and the activity and action steps to accomplish said goals. And now, being in the space of emotional health and emotional intelligence, that's one of the reasons why we left, is because that's not emotionally healthy. Because they were neglecting their families, they were neglecting their children. They would say, hey, you can spend time with your family once you're financially independent. And in my opinion, financial independence without emotional independence is not independence. Financial freedom without emotional freedom is not freedom for me. I saw a lot of people doing well financially that were completely emotionally controlled and manipulated by the people and organizations they were involved in. And so is that true freedom? Hey, that's great. You're a zillionaire. That's great. You're making all this money, but you're a complete emotional slave to the people and organization that you're involved in. For me, when I started to grow emotionally and my eyes became open to the leadership antics and schemes that they were doing, it completely turned me off to what was going on. So just anyway, all that to say, especially, with your family situation, make sure that you have some personal and professional boundaries, regardless of how you set goals and activities and all that stuff. Just be careful that those things don't control you and consume you at the expense of your family.
Right. So would you say that emotional and personal growth is the gateway to any other goal that you want?
Excellent question. My quick answer is no. So there are a lot of people that accomplish a truck ton of goals that have very little emotional intelligence and emotional health. So no, you do not have to be emotionally healthy to accomplish a truck ton of goals. For me, it's just not worth it, because those people also don't realize the people that they hurt around them, including themselves.